Hello twin flames and welcome to this video. So this video is about twin flames being in a crisis or a situation or going through something and how you handle it. How the divine feminine handles it and how the divine masculine handles it. And I'm going to share with you a first-hand experience. It's something that happened to me yesterday that really caused me to think about the journey and the way the masculine and feminine handle things that go on. So last night me and George were in bed and it was about midnight when we went to bed. Neither of us had taken a drink to bed and we just went to sleep. Now luckily I'd taken my phone into the room for my alarm clock. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. If it's the weekend, usually I leave it downstairs and I wake up naturally. But in the week, I prefer to have the clock there. Usually I wake up before it anyway, but it's always nice to have it there as a bit of a comfort blanket. So there was a phone in the room and I noticed when we went to bed, I was the last one to shut the bedroom door. We always shut it fully. And it seemed a bit strange when I shut the door, but didn't think anything of it, done it 100 times, went to sleep, and I woke up very thirsty and needing to go to the loo about 20 past 1 a.m. So in the middle of the night, I got up and George woke up because I woke up, so we were both awake, and I tried to open the door and the door was jammed. The door was jammed. So first of all I thought, oh, it's stuck, needs a bit of man strength. So I asked George if he could open the door, and nothing he did and nothing I did would open this door. Now, the first thing that happened in my mind was to find a solution. So the first thing I did was call on the angels. And the angels were saying to me, you have tools in your room, you have things you can use. So the first thing I thought was my phone and a coat hanger. That was the only thing that I could find in the room that would open a jammed door. Now, George's idea, in his mind, he was trying to yank the door. Okay, so I was looking for things that would pry the door open, and he was trying to, open the door any way he could, which resulted in the door handle coming off completely. So I'm trying to help you to understand through my experiences as a twin flame in union with my divine masculine, how different the feminine and masculine deal with a crisis or a situation. And if you listen to this message, it will really resonate with things you go through in your situation, in your life, which will help you to understand. So the door was jammed. Now, the first thing that was going around in my mind is, this is a fire hazard. Okay, if we don't open the door and anything happens, what would we do? So my ego was going into overdrive with what if scenarios that more than likely would not come to pass. And that's what we do as a divine feminine. The ego sets in when we're in a crisis or a situation and we can go into panic mode. Now, I was staying calm as well because I am in union and I've learned through everything I've been through before union how to handle these things and to let go and give it to God and be at peace. But the ego was still coming in. Remember, when I'm not channeling messages, I have that ego niggling at me just like everybody else does. So I was like, what are we going to do? We need to get out of this room. Whereas George was more laid back about the whole thing, and he was like, why don't we just go to sleep and deal with it in the morning? So again, that's the masculine's mindset sometimes. If they are in a crisis or a situation, instead of dealing with it there and then, they can distract themselves or try not to think about it. And that's why sometimes they can ghost you, not reply to you, or ignore your messages so that they have time to process what's going on. So you can see I wanted a solution there and then because the divine feminine is that way. We are nurturers, empresses. We look for solutions, and the masculines do this too, but they do it through processing. So, the divine masculine, George's response was to go back to sleep and maybe receive guidance in a dream or to deal with it later, to deal with it in the morning. But I knew that it needed to be sorted out there and then. So the first thing I did was call the landlord. Now, luckily, the landlord answered, and we both came to the conclusion that we needed to ring the fire brigade. So that's what I did. I rang the fire brigade, and the fire brigade came in through the window and managed to pry the door open. So, there was no crisis in the end. But luckily, the tools were there for me to be able to create the solution that opened the door. Now, the angels guided me what to do, plus my own intuition, plus logic, plus following my heart and my intuition. What George did was wanted to deal with it later. Okay, and that's not saying there's anything wrong. If he was in that situation by himself, he may have handled it differently. But the point I'm trying to make is sometimes we can't force the door open. And this also, from a spiritual perspective, is about the changes going on in the collective, because the divine masculine can feel trapped in a situation. The divine feminine can feel trapped in a situation. If the masculines are in a karmic situation, they may feel trapped in that situation and they may need to get out of it. And the feminine feels trapped too, because we feel trapped in the mind. So you may feel trapped in your mind because you can't find a solution. And the reason why is because they need to find their own way out. They need to find their way out. And that's really what they're showing me. So even though I was the one who ended up ringing the fire brigade and sorting it out so that they came in, the point I'm making is, when we aren't in union, how would you handle that situation? How do you think your masculine would handle that situation? Because eventually he would have to find his way out of that room. And that's why, as a divine feminine, we learn to have patience and trust, not just in our twin, but in God, the creator, and that we are always being guided and directed to find that way out. So it was a bit of a crazy night for me and George. And it was also amusing to me that, I kind of dealt with the fire people. George went downstairs and sat in the kitchen, and I was dealing with the fire brigade. And when they'd gone and I went to find George, he was asleep in the kitchen. So again, he just was oblivious to what was going on, and I was sorting it out. And fire engines are about, things that need attention. Fire is about the Kundalini rising, the heat, the passion that comes in between the two of you. When me and George were in separation, we both saw fire engines. And when we were actually communicating just before we met up for the first time, George was definitely, more than me seeing fire engines, because it was reminding him of the passion and the fire, because sometimes the fire needs putting out. And that fire can come up as the Kundalini rising, the chemistry between you, the desire, but it can also come through as anger and frustration and struggle, because sometimes we can be like a volcano about to explode. So the point I'm trying to make is, when a crisis comes into your connection and you feel trapped, or you feel that they are trapped in a situation, or the door needs to open, or you need to find a solution, the angels will guide you how to handle it. And you have all the tools that you will need. Now, if that phone wasn't in that room, they would have guided me to shout out the window, or, bring attention to myself, or something else. But luckily, everything happens for a reason. So the next time you're in a crisis in your situation, look at how you are handling it, and look at how your masculine is handling it, and see it from a different perspective. And remember, the door will always be opened at the right time, even if we're panicking. And you always get guided what to do. And the angels were like, you've got tools in that room that can help you to find your way out. And you have tools right now inside of you to help you find your way out of the struggle, or the chaos, or a situation. And your masculine does too. So as a divine feminine, we also have to learn to trust our twin to find their way out. Even if they aren't addressing the situation in that moment, if they seem to be distracting themselves from it or burying the head in the sand or not dealing with it in that moment, they will find their way out at the right time when they are ready. And that's the message I want to share today. So trust your twin, trust the process. And remember, as a divine feminine, it's kind of programmed in us to take control. But sometimes we have to take that step back and allow our masculine to take the lead. I hope this helps. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon.